What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Drinkin Vinyl, the show where we crack open a cold Busch Light, spin legendary records, and talk about why these albums still deserve a place on your turntable. Today, we're diving into what many people, including me, consider Rush's masterpiece, Moving Pictures. Now, if you spend any time around rock fans, you've probably heard the debate: is 2112 the greatest album? Is it Hemispheres? Permanent Waves? Everybody has a different answer. But if someone asked me what's the one Rush album I'd hand to someone who's never heard the band before, it's definitely this one. No hesitation. So let's grab yourself a Busch Light, get comfortable. Let's talk about one of the greatest rock records ever made. Now let's be honest. Busch Light and Rush have something in common. Neither one is trying to impress people with fancy packaging. They just show up, do exactly what they're supposed to do, and somehow they become classics. Before we even hear the first note or talk about the first note, can we appreciate this album cover? Look at it. It's brilliant. You've got people literally moving pictures. You've got people emotionally moved by pictures. And on the back, photographers taking moving pictures. Three meanings, one cover. That's exactly the kind of clever idea Rush fans love. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here with the Busch Light thinking, yep, that's a pretty cool album cover. Sometimes simple is okay. I'm going to tell you something. I never had that phase where people say I just didn't get Rush. From the very first time I heard them, I was hooked. It was Tom Sawyer playing on MTV that hooked me. I ran out and bought this album the next day. There was something about Geddy Lee's voice, Alex Lifeson's guitar playing, and of course Neil Peart's drumming that immediately grabbed my attention. Sure, they're incredibly technical, but what always stood out to me was that the songs never forgot to be songs. Every time I came back to a Rush album, I hear something new. Maybe it was the bass line I haven't noticed before. Maybe it was one of Neil's ridiculous drum fills. Maybe it was some subtle guitar part hiding in the background. Rush rewards repeat listening better than any band I know. And honestly, that's what vinyl's all about. You slow down, you listen, you discover things you missed before. That's why this album never gets old. 1981, let's talk about that. By the time 1981 rolled around, Rush wasn't some underground progressive rock band anymore. They already released classics like 2112, A Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, and Permanent Waves. Most bands would have been happy just to have one album like that. Rush kept getting better. What's amazing about Moving Pictures is that they didn't simplify their music. They just became better songwriters. They figured out how to keep all the complexity while writing songs that could actually dominate rock radio. That's not an easy feat. In fact, it's almost impossible. Let's dive into side one. Tom Sawyer. The album opens with what might be the greatest opening track in rock history. The synthesizer starts. Neil Peart counts everyone in. Alex Lifeson crashes through the speakers. Geddy Lee comes in. And suddenly, you remember why this song has never disappeared from classic rock radio. Even after all these years, it still sounds futuristic. One thing I love is that every member gets their chance to shine without ever stepping on each other. Neil isn't showing off. Alex isn't trying to steal the spotlight. Geddy is not trying to dominate the mix. They're all serving the song. That's what separates great musicians from musicians who just happen to be talented. Now, if I tried to play any one of these parts, I'd probably need another beer before the intro was over. Next, you have Red Barchetta. And I absolutely love this song. Rush always had a way of telling stories that pulled you into another world. This one is basically a futuristic car chase. As the song builds, you can practically hear the engine revving and the tires squealing. It's cinematic without ever needing a music video. Close your eyes and the movie plays in your head. YYZ, or as they say in Canada, YYZ. If someone asks me what the greatest instrumental rock song ever recorded is, this one has to be in the conversation. The title, in fact, comes from the airport code for Toronto Pearson Airport, and that opening rhythm on Neil's ride cymbal is actually based on the Morse code for YYZ. Only Rush would turn an airport identifier into one of the greatest instrumentals of all time. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying not to spill my Busch Light while these three guys casually redefine what musicianship is. Close off side one with Limelight, which is gotta be my favorite song on the album. Neil Peart, the lyric writer, wrote about being uncomfortable with fame. Imagine being one of the greatest drummers to ever live and still wishing you could disappear into the crowd. That honesty is what makes this song so powerful. And Alex Lifeson's guitar solo, it's absolute perfection. Not because it's the fastest, not because it's flashy, because every single note means something. Side 2 opens up with the camera eye. Then we got the longest song on the record, the camera eye. This is Rush reminding everyone that they haven't forgotten where they came from. It's progressive, atmospheric, patient. It paints pictures of New York City and London using music. It's the kind of song you don't just hear, you experience it. This is also the point where the Busch Light is tasting extra good, and you're just sitting back appreciating how insanely talented these guys are. Then you have Witch Hunt. That song changes the mood completely. It's darker, it's heavier, it's about fear, mob mentality, and people turning against each other. Unfortunately, it's just as relevant today as it was back in 1981. Great songwriting never really expires. Then it closes out and ends with Vital Signs. The song quietly hints at where Rush would go during the rest of the 80s. You hear reggae influences, new wave, more synthesizers. Instead of ending by looking backward, Rush ends the album by pointing towards the future. Not my favorite song on the album, but you know what? It is a perfect ending. You know what's amazing? There's albums that sold more copies, albums with more hit singles, albums that are heavier, albums that are more progressive. But very few albums feel this complete. There isn't a weak track here. Not one weak track. Every song belongs. Every member contributes equally. Every performance is incredible. This isn't a singer just backed by musicians. It's three world-class musicians who somehow managed to leave their egos at the door and make the songs their priority. That's why Moving Pictures still sounds timeless. So where does this album rank for me? Easy. It's a 10 out of 10. One of the greatest rock albums ever recorded. One of the greatest progressive rock albums ever recorded. And without question, one of my favorite albums in my entire collection. If you own a turntable and you don't own Moving Pictures, fix that. Getting thirsty again. fix it with one of these. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Drinking Vinyl. Now I want to hear from you. What is your favorite song on Moving Pictures? And if you don't own it, buy it and spin it. The favorite song is a Tom Sawyer, YYZ, Limelight. Or are you one of those Rush fans who says the camera eye is the real masterpiece? Me, I'm Team Camera Eye. Let me know down in those comments. If you enjoyed hanging out, talking vinyl, and sharing a Busch Light with me, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and come back next time because we got more legendary albums to spin. Until then, keep your beer cold, keep your records clean, and keep on spinning vinyl. Cheers.